Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer hearings for March 8th, 2017. My name is Kristen Asp, and I will be conducting the hearing as Planning Hearing Officer. We have 3 cases today, and all relevant exhibits are posted on the parcels located directly behind me. We have 2 conditional use permit applications and 1 administrative use permit application. If the evidence, as far as findings are concerned, if the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just as outlined, then the planning hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evidence, then the request will be denied. Public notice. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, placed in the local newspaper, and posted on the city's website. As far as how the hearing will proceed, I will read a description of the application and the requests. I will ask the case planner to make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a recommendation. I'll also ask if they received comments from other city departments or other interested parties. I will then ask the applicant to come forward stating both name and address, and will ask to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition of the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again, clearly stating both name and address, and will be given a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments, if desired, in response to testimonies given by the preceding speakers with a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will then be closed and taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter, not necessarily the date of today's hearing. In terms of appeals, under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the decision date, and the notice of appeal shall be filed with the Building and Safety Division located in MSB 101 on this building, on this floor. Speaker cards. I see a number of them, but just to reiterate for anybody who's come in late, if you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker forms provided at the front door, and please give it to our planning staff. I'd like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the planning hearing officer's hearings are recorded on tape as part of the public record. In terms of the agenda this morning, I did mention that there are 3 cases. I'm going to take them a little out of order. I'm going to move number 3, which is 1120 North Pacific Avenue. I'm going to make that the second item on the agenda, making 1041 West Kenneth the third item on the agenda. So to start with case number 1, this was a conditional use permit that was continued from February 22nd, 2017. It is located at 1346 East Colorado Street, Ocean Spa, and it is an application to allow the continued operation of a massage use in the C3 commercial service zone. I'm going to ask the case planner, Mr. Manasarian, if he'd give a staff presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Asp. The applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow the continued operation of a massage establishment located at 1346 East Colorado Street. The current applicant was issued a zoning use certificate to establish a massage use at the existing location on October 4th, 2012, with the condition that all massage therapists must be licensed by the state. Ocean Spa has been operating at this location since that time. The proposed use will be consistent with the various elements and objectives of the general plan of the area. The land use element of the Glendale General Plan designates the subject site as community services. Personal service land uses, such as a massage establishment, generally offer a complementary element to surrounding uses. Massage services is an allowed use in the C3 commercial services zone, subject to the approval of a conditional use permit. The subject site is in a commercial area along Colorado Street, identified as a major arterial in the circulation element that is suitable for this type of use. The proposed use is in keeping with the various elements and objectives of the general plan. The applicant's request for the continued operation of the massage establishment in the C3 zone is not anticipated to be detrimental to the general welfare, public health, safety, or environment as conditioned. The facility is located on the south side of Colorado Street between South Chevy Chase Drive and South Verdugo Road. The immediate vicinity of the subject site along Colorado Street is developed with a variety of commercial uses, including restaurants, personal service, physical instruction, office, and retail uses. A residential neighborhood lies to the south of the subject site. Approval of the conditional use permit would not adversely impact nearby uses nor impede the development of surrounding properties, since these properties are already developed. No changes are proposed to the existing on-site building or site plan, including the parking lot, and the commercial building is oriented towards Colorado Street, and no windows face the residential neighborhood directly south of the site. Adequate public and public facilities such as utilities, landscaping, and traffic circulation measures are provided for the site and the use. A total of 45 parking spaces are provided in the surface parking lot on the subject property to service the subject use and other tenants. The application does not include any added floor area to the existing building or subject tenant space, so no increase in the parking demand is going to be created. The existing utilities, landscaping, parking spaces, and traffic circulation measures are adequate as they are already in place. The use meets the intent of the zoning ordinance of providing a personal service in the commercial neighborhood and will be beneficial for the public. There are no known parks, churches, private schools, or colleges, daycare facility, libraries, or hospitals in close proximity to the massage establishment. Glendale High School is located less than a quarter mile from the subject site on the southeast corner of Broadway and Verdugo Road. Staff has received comments from police requiring all employees to possess a current CAMTA certificate at all times, and we've verified that all employees currently possess one. All other city departments did not have any concerns. In addition, staff did receive letters in objection to the subject application, which have been included in the case file. The operation of this massage establishment has proven to have no negative effect on the surrounding neighborhood since it was first approved in 2012. Staff believes that all the findings for the conditional use permit can be made in a positive manner and therefore recommends approval of this entitlement. Staff suggests the planning hearing officer consider the attached draft findings and conditions of this approval. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate your comment about from PD that the police department that everybody have a certificate from the CAMTC, which is a state operation that oversees massage certification. I guess they had a comment. You said they've operated since 2012, but in 2015 they had conducted a check and somebody was without a license. That has since been corrected.
Yes.
Okay.
They provided a copy of all the employees with certificates.
Okay. And I do want to also point out that I do see the letter in opposition that is basically concerned about prostitution. So with that, I think I'm going to ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to come up. If you could, is it Run?
Yeah.
You could state your name and address for the...
Lu, last name, L-U.
And your address for the record, please?
1311 Heather Lane, Duarte, CA 9111.
So can you just tell us about your operation. Tell us about what you know about the findings that have been made and or attempted to be made.
I know the purpose is to serve the Glendale community. There is no open floor plan. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
It's okay.
This is my first time.
Welcome.
Thank you. I know this, like, we have opened, like, since 2012. It's kind of like before. Nothing changed. We have public parking and everything else.
And have you read the staff report and the proposed conditions
Yeah,
that are?
because you already repeat everything.
But
I don't want to repeat everything again. Like everybody already hear it.
have you reviewed the proposed conditions of approval?
Yeah, I
do you
already do.
agree with them? You're aware of all of the requirements for transparency for the front door,
like
things like that.
45 parking space, everything that meets the city standard and the state standards. Everyone is licensed with the certificate.
What are your general hours of operation?
From 10 to 10.
10 to 10? Is
Sunday,
that Monday?
11 to 10.
And that's how you've operated since 2012?
Yes. Monday through Saturdays 10 to 10. On Sundays 11 to 10.
So Monday through Saturday, 10 to 10?
Yes.
And Sundays. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No. Is there questions or anyone want to ask? I'm willing to answer.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have one more card, speaker card. Steve Rodriguez, Code Compliance Inspector for City of Glendale.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Steve Rodriguez. I'm a Code Compliance Inspector with the City of Glendale. At this time, CDD licensing has no issues at this time and are in compliance with Chapter 5 of the massage establishment. Just a reminder for the applicant that code compliance inspectors and the police department can do spot checks at this establishment at any time. Any violations regarding Chapter 5 may result in revocation of their massage establishment certificate and their conditional use permit. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I got one last card. Is it Peter?
Hi, my name is Peter Robinson, and my wife and I use this place.
Your address for the record?
1717 North Verdugo Road, apartment 145, Glendale, California, 91208.
Thank you.
So my wife and I use this place all the time, and we love it. And the other day we were driving down, or I was driving down, and there's a burger place moving in next door. And when I saw the sign up that there was some sort of hearing going on, I thought they were replacing this place, and I was so upset because it's a really well run place. It's inexpensive, and when we need when we're all burned out and we need a place to go, this is where we go. And you said that there was some complaint about possible prostitution. That's insane. This is like, if you went in this place, you would be like, that's insane. There's just not.
It was just for the record. It was a letter concerned about prostitution.
Yeah, whoever wrote that is crazy. It's just not. It's not. This is. You walk in this place, that's not the type of place this is. It's just it's an open floor plan for the most part. You walk in and they, it's just not. It's not the type of thing that would do that. So. My daughter agrees. So yeah, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
So.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I don't know if the applicant would like to respond to anything they heard. Your last opportunity. Okay. That being said, this case will be taken under submission, and we will move on to the next case. Thank you. Okay. To shift gears here. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is also for a conditional use permit to continue the operation of a massage establishment located at 1120 North Pacific Avenue, Suite 4 in the C1 Neighborhood Commercial Zone in the city of Glendale. It's called Glendale Massage, and I'm going to ask staff, Ms. Babakani, to give us a report, please.
Yes. Thank you and good morning, Ms. Asp. The applicant for the conditional use permit number PCUP 1622767 is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow the continued operation of a massage establishment located at 1120 North Pacific Avenue, Suite B, in the C1 Neighborhood Commercial Zone. Massage service is an allowed use in the C1 zone, subject to the approval of a conditional use permit. The current applicant, Glendale Massage, is operating in this existing location since December 2011, and a zoning use certificate was issued for this massage establishment on December 1st, 2011. There are no other cases or active building permits being processed with this case, and staff is recommending approval with this condition. With condition. A summary about the site. The project site is a 2,950 square foot lot located at the southeast corner of North Pacific Avenue and Palm Drive. The proposed massage establishment is located in a one-story, 9,645 square foot multi-tenant commercial building occupied by various users. There are 20 parking spaces available on the site. The properties surrounding the subject site are developed with multifamily residential and commercial uses. And multifamily residential neighborhood about subject site on the east and south side. Glendale Police Department and the City Attorney's Office had standard condition regarding the approval of this conditional use permit, which have been included in the staff report. And Neighborhood Services and Building and Safety Division didn't have any major concern or comments regarding the approval of this case, and no public comments have been received regarding this approval of the CUP. And also, there were no calls for service at this location since June 2016. And staff believes that all findings for the CUP approval can be made in the positive manners, and that's why staff recommending approval with conditions for the CUP. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm going to be available for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't have any questions at this time. Why don't I have the applicant come up? I have 2 speaker cards for applicant. I have Jefferson and Young.
I will present for him. So.
And you are?
Yeah, Jefferson.
Okay. State your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, the address location is 1120 North Pacific Avenue on the Suite 4.
Oh, state your name and address.
Okay, my name is Jefferson Jin, and the address, the property we apply is 1120 North Pacific Avenue, number 4, Suite 4. And as the board is help us to speak out all the brief the idea already, so I just go over a little bit. So this property is massage store and located in the C1 neighborhood community area, and it's allow us to apply for CUP. So that's we apply for this, and this service is in a plaza, and the window is faced to the street, and surrounding there, the behind is a residential area, but the window is not faced to the residential area, only on the street for the commercial area. So instead of will not bother any residents living around in there. And also there have a lot of restaurants and personal service, office, retail store around in there. So this is kind of a benefit service to serve this commercial community. So and this is our facility is sitting there like almost 6 years already, since 2011 December. So this is still running business, and this is no any other issues complaint from any others neighborhood. So that's is still running for it. So right now we apply for the CUP, and also for, on the side there, so we don't change any functional or any other stuff because the parking space, landscape, and the utility is still keeping running as existing. We didn't change any other stuff. So that's all what we have for now. So if there have any questions, so I can answer for it.
You've been involved since it opened in 2011?
The owner is. I'm just helping him to
It's been the same owner since 2011?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. In general, your hours of operation?
It's 10 to 10.
Monday, 7 days a week?
Yeah, it's 7 days a week.
It's 10 to 10?
Yes.
And just to clarify, and I should have done that for the first hearing. Prior to last year, massage establishments were permitted land use in the zoning code. The state law changed, and so we changed our code as well that requires a conditional use permit for all massage establishments existing.
Yes.
So we've had sort of a run on all of the existing massage establishments coming in and applying for their conditional use permit, where previously they were permitted land use. So that's what the reason why you're here.
Yeah, we understand that, and there have some code is come out, and we will be follow for it.
And have you read the proposed conditions of approval?
Yes.
And agree with them? Have any questions?
No, we agree with it.
Okay. Know that everyone has to be licensed,
Yes.
and the transparency rules and requirements that
Yes,
that
we will
apply
follow.
to massage establishments.
Yes.
Okay. So, just to be clear, Yang, you did not want to speak? Okay.
His attendance, I just speak it for
Okay.
him. So
Thank you. That's it for now.
okay, thank you.
I have one more speaker card. Again, I'm going to call Steve Rodriguez back to the dais, Code Compliance Inspector.
Good morning. Steve Rodriguez, Code Compliance Inspector with the Community Development and Licensing. Our department has no issues at this time and are in compliance with the Chapter 5 title massage establishment for Glendale Massage. Just a reminder that code enforcement inspectors and police may do spot checks at any time of the massage establishment. Any violations regarding Chapter 5 may result in revocation of their massage establishment owner certificate and their CUP. And that's all I have at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more speaker cards. I don't know if the applicant wants to speak to that at all. You don't think so? Okay. Thank you. This case will also be taken under submission. Thank you.
I can try one more time.
You want to take a recess? We're going to take a brief recess and return in 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to the Planning Hearing Officer of March 8, 2017. For the final item on today's agenda is an administrative use permit to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption at an existing gas station food mart located at 1041 West Kenneth Road in the C1 Neighborhood Commercial Zone. But before I ask staff to give a presentation and overview of the request, I do want to acknowledge that we've got a lot of letters and comments on this case, and some of them were related to holding the hearing in the evening. This is an administrative use application which does not require a public hearing. It does require public notice, but can be elevated if staff feels necessary. That is the case today. This hearing was elevated to this public hearing of the Planning Hearing Officer, which is at 9:30 on Wednesdays. The point of public hearings is to gain public comment, and I think by the number of comments received and the people in the audience, that has been achieved. Comments, either written or in person, are given the same weight by me, so we are going to conduct this hearing this morning at 9:30. So, Mrs. Zati, would you please go ahead with the staff report?
Good morning, Ms. Ask, and thank you. This is an application for an administrative use permit to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption at an existing gas station and retail store located at 1041 West Kenneth Road in the C1 Neighborhood Commercial Zone. The project site was originally developed in 1959 as a gas station with a vehicle repair garage and retail store. In July of last year, an administrative exception was approved with conditions to allow the alteration of the existing gas station site by converting the existing vehicle repair garage space into additional retail sales area without meeting all of the gas station standards required by the zoning code today. Currently, the site features a one-story, 1,542 square foot retail food mart, along with 2 canopies, both with 4 fuel pumps underneath and 1 handicap parking space. The 8,122 square foot lot is located on the northwest corner of Grandview Avenue and Kenneth Road, with 2 driveways for vehicular access on each street. According to city records, the current Shell gas station has operated at this location since July of last year. The gas station and retail store operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The application does not include any added floor area or modifications to the existing building. Therefore, there's no increase in required parking for the use and no expansions required. Or no expansions proposed, excuse me. The property is located again in the C1 zone, where goods and services offered generally attract clientele from the surrounding residential neighborhoods. The request to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption at the gas station and store is appropriate in an area of the city zoned for commercial uses and does continue to provide an option for the surrounding community to purchase alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption. That is incidental to the primary use of the site as the gas station with a convenience store. The applicant's request is consistent with the various elements of the general plan. The land use designation of the site is neighborhood commercial, where retail and service uses along community collector streets such as Grandview and West Kenneth are desired. The project site's already developed as a gas station with a store, and the applicant's request to allow alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption, again, is incidental to the primary gas station use. The site is located in Kenneth Village, which is a shopping area that features complementary retail and service uses adjacent to primarily single-family residential homes. The other elements of the general plan, including open space, recreation, housing, and noise, will not be impacted as a result of the request because this is an existing development and there's no expansion proposed. According to the Glendale Police Department, the project site is located in Census Tract 3013, where the suggested limit for off-sale alcohol establishments is 1. Currently, there are 0 off-sale establishments located in this tract, and the applicant's request would be the first. The ancillary sale of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption in conjunction with the gas station and retail convenience mart is a common service that is typically associated with, or typically not associated with public drunkenness or other alcohol-related crimes, as no consumption is permitted on-site. Based on Part 1 crime statistics for this tract, there were 28 crimes reported in the area, below the citywide average of 178. Within the last calendar year, there has been one call for police service at this location, which was received in August of last year, but it was a false alarm, so no report was taken. As conditioned, the applicant's request to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption at the gas station and store is not anticipated to be detrimental to the community or adversely conflict with the normal development. The request is not anticipated to conflict with surrounding properties because, again, it's incidental to the primary gas station and retail store use, and no consumption is permitted on the premises. There are 2 churches located in the area of the gas station, and while they are located in the immediate area, the applicant's request is not anticipated to negatively impact these uses because, again, the request is only for off-site consumption. Staff believes that all of the findings for the AUP can be made in a positive manner, as detailed in the staff report, and therefore recommends approval of this entitlement. As far as public comments received, since the AUP application was submitted last year, staff has received comments in opposition from 15 residents, including 3 requests for a special meeting. In addition, prior to the AUP application submittal, we received comments from 7 residents in opposition to the ABC license application. Concerns of residents in opposition include loitering, crime, public safety, especially as it relates to traffic and speeding in the area, consumption on-site or on nearby residential streets, and the sale of alcoholic beverages as opposed to the sale of beer and wine only. In addition, a major concern from residents also relates to the hours of operation of the business and concerns that alcohol would be available for purchase 24 hours a day. Staff also received 2 emails from residents in support of the applicant's request, and a petition was submitted by the applicant with 860 signatures in support of the request for alcoholic beverage sales at a 24-hour mini mart. All those comments are in the file. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. T. I guess I would like to call up the police department first, because my understanding is that there's been a change to some of the recommended conditions, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about that before I take public comment.
Good morning. Lieutenant Bickle from the Glendale Police Department. The owner wants to adjust the hours of operation for the alcohol sales. I recommended 10 o'clock p.m. And the theory behind that was that most of the businesses close up there between 10 and 11. They have suggested midnight as a time for the sales of alcohol to stop, and I think we're okay with that. This area is a very low crime impact area, and we'll be able to handle any calls for service that come up related to this topic. The other issue came up was the individual sales of alcohol. We generally do those conditions when we have a place that's has a lot of people that hang out after they purchase alcohol and go sit, on the curbs and parking lots and that sort of thing. This generally is not an area that we have that problem with, and I normally would do that downtown where we had a lot of transient people coming and going, but this place doesn't seem to have that issue. So I'm okay with them selling the individual sized containers, and I think those were the only 2 concerned that we had.
Okay, so that just a change to your original comments.
Correct.
If I can ask maybe a silly question related to the individual sales, is the concern sort of the loitering and maybe a transient population that's picking that up, as opposed to someone just pulling in, pumping gas, running in, grabbing maybe an individual unit, and then getting in their car and driving off? Is that a concern at all, or am I?
So generally, and I will, on behalf of the neighbors, I've received a lot of those emails also, And their concerns are that people are going to grab a beer, get back in their car, go park in the neighborhood, and drink alcohol, and then, be a nuisance. The other concern is with the village closing so early in the evening at 10 o'clock or 11, they go buy that beer, they walk, a block into the village, and they sit down in one of the outdoor seating areas and they drink beer. So that was the theory behind it. And, but if we have that problem, then we'll address it. And we can always come back and, if there's a nuisance, we can always come back and address that.
Okay. Thank you. I may have other questions as this goes on, but
Sure.
thank you for clarifying that change.
No problem. Thank you.
I'd like to call up the applicant's representative or attorney, Ben Resnick, please. Name and address for the record.
Ben Resnick with the law firm of Jeffer, Mangels, Butler, and Mitchell, 1900 Avenue, The Stars, Los Angeles, California. I'm here representing the applicant, and I just want to first, Ms. Asp, confirm receipt of our letter March 6th.
Correct?
Thank you. So I think, let me just point out again for perhaps what's before us, and what's before us is the additional request for an administrative use permit for alcohol, not current operations that have been approved last year by the city for the use of the retail store and the gas station, its hours, etc. So there are no physical changes being proposed with this application. The existing operation previously approved remains the same. The liquor, there used to be a liquor store just a few hundred feet away. It closed. Our client purchased that liquor, licensed, and transferred it, which is why the census tract had only one before, then had zero when the store closed, and will have one again. And that's the same license that existed there for many, many years. Because of the nature of the facility, it will serve primarily local residents. This is like people driving through pumping gas. It's not a destination. And the reason it's not a destination, even like a liquor store would be a destination. I go there because I want to buy the alcohol. But we don't provide real parking when you think about it. People park at the fuel pumps. That's eight parking spaces, 8 fuel pumps. We have one handicap spot, and we have one guest spot. So it's not inviting people to run in like a 7-Eleven or like a liquor store and say, here's all the parking, pull in, buy your alcohol, and leave. It is, therefore, by definition, really, an ancillary use through just the way it's physically laid out, the way it's structured. And it's also an ancillary use because the total sales, projected sales of alcohol will equal approximately 10 to 15% of the total sales of the mini mart, the retail store. So it is in a true ancillary type of use. So the fact that it's a low crime rate, as defined in the staff report and as confirmed by the police department, in fact, so low that this particular neighborhood has 84%, its crime rate is 84% below the citywide average. We made the request in our letter then to allow the hours beyond 10 p.m. closing, which I'm glad to hear today the police department reconsidered. Under state law, of course, we're allowed to sell alcohol until 2 a.m. But I think as a compromise, we don't want to do that. We're asking this to split the difference, if you will, and go to midnight in terms of the extended hours. We think that the early closing is just not warranted or supported by the findings that have been made throughout the staff report and through what we've seen. Findings of low crime rate, findings that there's only one liquor license in the census tract, finding now the additional finding you can make that it's ancillary uses, which it is to the entire business operation. With reference to the 2 churches and the school nearby and the park, again, because it's an off-site sale, not on-site, people are not going to be walking out drunk. People are not allowed, by the way, per not only conditions by law, from drinking on-site. So it's illegal for anyone to buy something, open a can, open a bottle on site. They'd have to drive off. And because it's a gas station, it's not a walk-up. It's not really a walk-up local market. And hence, we don't believe there will be any impacts. Not only that, but the added hours we're asking for, those facilities, the church, the park, the schools are all closed. So the extra 2 hours at night we're asking for have zero impact on those facilities. With respect to the unit sales, by the way, we're okay with all of the conditions that are laid out in the staff report, except number 10, which is the hours, and number 15, which I'd like to address, which is the individual unit sales. A finding has been made that this, because it's a gas station and the sale is in conjunction with gas stations, it's, quote, not typically associated with public drunkenness. It's not that type of use. We have signs required by your conditions on the property that say no loitering, no trespassing, things of that nature to discourage that. We know that people are not allowed to drink on site. And as I said earlier, parking is at the fuel pumps. So when you combine all of those factors together, it is not a destination-oriented place or store. And with reference, though, to the unit sizes, so we have beer, we have wine, and alcohol. First, let me say that state law regulates what you can sell under the license that we have. There's always been some tension between cities regulating the type of alcohol you can sell in terms of size versus where state law steps in, and where does the city's regulation encroach on what is a license issued by the state. But again, in just trying to, in the spirit of compromise and trying to find some solution here, our client is willing to have a condition that does not permit him to sell individual small unit beer cans. That's 12 ounces or less. And if you were so inclined as to impose that condition, we'd like it defined as 12 ounces or less. That's your individual beer cans, so that he doesn't inadvertently run afoul of conditions, right? We want him to know what he can sell and what he can't. But the other items, whether it's wine or other items, they come sort of pre-packed. They are important to the business, even though they're ancillary. They do provide and drive some other sales of other products that people would buy. And we're not allowed to advertise it. So someone driving by sees a gas station, sees a mini-mart. Unless that's a regular customer who's been a local, who's been by, won't know there's alcohol there. We're not allowed to put a sign, unlike liquor stores or other places that say that. And so, in combination, we think our request for the added 2 hours to midnight, our request that small unit size condition be limited only to beer cans under 12 ounces, that's just individuals, and I did read all of the emails and letters you've had from community members. I understand there's a lot of misunderstanding about the scope of this proceeding. Some think that we're going back to 2016 to reopen that case, and they want to regulate the mini-mart, the traffic, the sale of gas, and all of that. And as I'm sure you know and you're aware, I just want to make it clear that's not the hearing today. We're just looking at adding the alcohol. And so with that, I'll reserve whatever time you can give me to respond to the public, unless you have questions of me.
I guess just the first question in related to the individual unit sales and your proposal of 12 ounces, which would be like a beer can.
Right.
Do you envision that only applying to beer or 12
Only beer.
Only beer?
Only beer.
So, I mean, there are
Beer.
other types of hard alcohol that I imagine come
Well,
under
hard
12
alcohol,
ounces,
the smallest is a half pint, and that's pre-made. I mean, that's...
Okay.
So, that, half a pint is not a cup, by the way. A half pints, and the regulation that this license permits those sales, and same thing with the wine categories. Even the small wine bottles do come in 4-packs, but they can be sold separately. those we're not conceding should be subject to regulation by the city because it is governed by state law.
Okay, so
But-
smaller packaged wine, just
Yeah.
use, if they're smaller than 12 ounces,
Yes.
you would like to sell them individually?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. For two reasons. One, it is permitted by state law, and we believe actually supersedes the local ability to control that through a conditional use permit, or in this case, an administrative use permit. But more importantly, because of the findings of this particular case, and as now confirmed by the testimony from the police department, it is not kind of use that will generate the loitering, the people walking on premises, taking small wine bottles and drinking in the neighborhood and hanging around. It's still predominantly a gas station.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a lot of speaker cards, so I think I'd like to get to those. I don't know if there's any particular order that the group would like to go in, but the first name I have is Greg Krikorian.
Just stepped out.
Oh. We'll put that behind then. Pam Ellis.
Sorry, mine was on the top. My name is Pam Ellis, and I respect what the applicant's attorney said.
Your address for the record.
Pardon me?
Your address for the record.
1324 Norton Avenue, Glendale, California, 91202. We're here today because staff has issued permits and permission to go forward without meeting the city code. So it's unfortunate that there was an expanded market there anyway. What was described as a previous retail since 1959, it was a small auto repair place where you could go in and buy a soda and a candy bar, and that was about it. And it was very quiet. There are residences on both sides, so this has really had an impact. The sale of alcohol, I think, will have an adverse effect. If people are buying individual containers, the parking lots that will be most available are the church parking lot and the little strip mall across the street. I've had the occasion to at least weekly be there at about 6 p.m., which is kind of the busy time for Kenneth Road, and the traffic is an issue now. There are two driveways that go out onto both Grandview and Kenneth. There are no restrictions for making turns, like coming out on Kenneth and making a left-hand turn, and people do it all the time. There's also a parking place between the two driveways on Kenneth, which makes it very dangerous and hard to get out of that lot and hard to get out of the lot across the street. So I think that there need to be conditions. I mean, I understand why they want to sell liquor. I'm not going to be one of their customers. I'm not going in to buy liquor, but it's important for their business model and for revenue generation. But extending the hours and extending the options, I think, is a really, really bad idea. We have enough problem with crazy drivers in our neighborhood now without adding alcohol on top of that. So they can go down the street and get it at any supermarket. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Berge? Karapetian? Hi.
My name is Berge Karapetian. I live at 1623 Ben Lomond Drive. I lived there since 2003. I used to go to the gas station that used to be there. I used to go to the liquor store that was on Kenneth Village and buy alcoholic beverages as well as ice and other items that I needed for at my residence. I walked my dog by the area. We go to the village and to the restaurants, and I do not see a problem with alcoholic beverages being allowed to be sold at the gas station, because since the liquor store closed, it has been an inconvenience for me as a resident. Hearing the reports from the police department on the neighborhood being safe. I do not see this in any way complicating or contributing to an increase in activities that would be associated with alcohol being purchased at the site. So I hope that you will grant the conditional approvals that you have offered. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Zuzka Egna?
These are the maps I'm referring to.
Okay.
It's alcohol density.
Okay.
And its consequences. Okay.
Okay.
So good morning. My name is Uska Egena. We live at 1724 Cleveland, which is just about 2.5 blocks away from the Shell station. I don't see how anyone can allege that there can be an impact on 500 feet within the area. I think this will impact our whole neighborhood. And I'm opposed to the permit on 2 counts: the sale of alcohol, especially hard liquor, and the extended hours of operation. I'm not against alcohol at all. I mean, I like wine. But further increasing the already high density of outlets in Glendale does concern me. If you look at the maps, I will talk about that. But as far as national data is concerned, there is a well-established association between alcohol outlet density and 5 major consequences: violent crimes, vehicle accidents, emergency room visits, hospitalizations, and deaths. Reduction of alcohol outlet density is a recommended public health strategy to reduce the rates of alcohol-related social and health consequences. So alcohol density is classified as low, medium, and high, and that's what the maps are about. Glendale is considered high, and that is based on the fact that the alcohol density, and that is number of outlets per 10,000 population, is higher than that of Los Angeles County as a whole. So, and even though current data do not yet show the 5 consequences to be at a high level in Glendale, I don't think that any of us want to actually get there. That is why we need prevention. My medical board certification is in preventive medicine and public health. And I'm quite familiar with what the medical community believes and does. Prevention is generally accepted as a lot more beneficial than treating the complications of injuries or diseases. Crime prevention is the same concept used by the police department. It is usually to prevent problems than to attempt to reduce their occurrence once we have them. Limiting alcohol outlet density has been found to be effective in limiting the availability of alcohol and reducing the harms of alcohol. For example, in one study, eliminating 1 bar per zip code was estimated to lead to 290 fewer serious assaults per year in the state of California. There are already 8 off-site alcohol outlets, 8, within 1 mile radius of this gas station. Most of I can give you the list if you want.
Are you close to done?
Okay. 8 of them.
Are you close to finishing?
Within
your comments? Are you
within
close to
1
finishing?
mile radius. They are, let's see, on Glen Oaks, they are 1.5 mile, 0.6 mile, 0.6 mile, 0.8 mile, 0.9 mile, 0.9 mile, 1 mile, 1 mile.
Are you wrapping up your comments?
No.
Okay, we're almost out of time, so so if you could wrap up quickly, please.
I have a lot more. So how many more do we need? My second objection is to the hours of operation. Kenneth Island is Kenneth Village is a little island in a sleepy residential area. Its businesses close early, usually by 10 o'clock on weekends. However, right now the sign at the gas station says 24 hours. I'm not the only person who fears that. Everybody I know is concerned about traffic and the reckless drivers, loitering, noise. The two residences right adjacent deserve to be able to sleep. And the current crime mapping report shows that most crimes in our area are along the Glen Oaks corridor. Most of us fear that once people start coming up there to get alcohol, they will bring crime along with them.
Last thought.
Okay. Now, I have objections to some of the findings in the report. Limiting hours 10 to 10, I think, would be a step ahead. But I think it's really a stretch to claim that it will serve as a convenience for the local area. Has there been a community needs assessment? Was a survey done? Why do so many of us oppose it? I'd like to know who those 800 people who signed the petition, where they lived actually, not where that makes all the difference. If they don't live in our community, I don't know how much say they should have. The claim that it will not be detrimental to public health and safety is contrary to what most of us fear. And the recommendation that it will be the only alcohol outlet in Census Tract 3013 is also really strange. If you look at the map, according to the Census Tract maps, the borders are Grandview, Kenneth, Valley View, and up into the park. That is the only business that is there. So in that case, it'll be 100% alcohol outlets, the one business.
Okay, last thought.
So, finishing up, okay. So I think approving this comes down to where does the city place more value? The profit of a business whose agent and applicant are registered in a different zip code, or what the surrounding community wants. These are your constituents, and we all value peace, quiet, and safety.
Thank you.
And I have another document here about how actually communities can use their regulatory powers by not issuing licenses.
Is this something I can keep?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, the hours of operation relate to the sale of alcohol. The hours have nothing to do with the hours of operation for the business.
I understand. But noise, I think, is a concern for the neighbors.
Okay. Next up, Valerie Gardner.
Valerie Gardner, 1545 Cleveland Road, Glendale 91202. Question for you: Why weren't the neighbors asked about the 24-hour mini mart? I mean, how did that get put into place without any community input in the first place?
Just in general, uses that are permitted by right, the city doesn't regulate their hours of operation.
Even though there's nothing else open.
That's up to the business owner how they want to conduct their hours.
First off, I wanted to say that I was very disappointed to hear the police change their recommendations, and I think that's really significant. I think the public should know. I think the neighborhood would want to know that today, here at the meeting, at the hearing, there have been two significant changes to the individual size containers and also wanting to stay open until midnight instead of the previously recommended 10 o'clock. And I think those two changes alone in the recommendations we should have another meeting, because I think people will be upset to hear about that. But I'm here because I live just a few blocks from the Shell station, and I'm not opposed to alcohol at all, but I am opposed to the sale of alcohol at the mini mart. And my stance is this: it's not needed, nor does it do anything to benefit our community. In fact, I think it's detrimental. First of all, we have 7-Eleven and Ralph's down the street, so why do we need alcohol right on the corner of Kenneth and Grandview? I don't think we do. Secondly, I read the staff findings, and I know that the police don't anticipate any negative effect on the community in terms of loitering and drunkenness, dangerous driving, noise, littering, etc. But then again, what if they're wrong? What if having a business there selling alcohol and being open 24 hours a day, even if they're not selling alcohol 24 hours, what if we do see an increase in dangerous drivers and loitering and criminal activity? They can just, even though they take it off-site, they can simply take it off-site to our dark streets. We have very few street lights on many of our streets. We have Brand Park right up the street. So I don't think it's good for our community. And what else did I want to say? As the previous woman mentioned, she made so many good points. But let's prevent problems instead of relying on police to deal with problems after the fact. We are a low-crime area. We'd like it to stay that way. We're a quiet, little sleepy community, and we want it to stay that way. And this doesn't benefit our community, so I would like to see the sale of alcohol denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Tula Hallback.
Hi. Tula Hallbach, 1215 Graynold Avenue, 91202. One of the things I'm curious about is I would love to see the 800 signatures on the petition. Valerie and I have done petitions in the neighborhood for other reasons, and we've canvassed huge parts of Glendale outside of the zone, and I've never gotten 800 signatures. I can't find 800 people. I oppose the selling of alcohol at the mini mart 100%. I think if we needed alcohol sales 24 hours or even till 10 o'clock, our alcohol store on Glen Oaks Mission Liquors would stay open past their 8 o'clock. I don't think they would miss the opportunity of making sales if there were a need for it. We don't need it. Where this Shell station is located is a little secluded area in Kenneth. Okay? You sell alcohol, you're going to get loitering. You're going to get those people, even if they don't drink on site, going around the corner, going up to Brand Park, or on my street, what I've seen often on Graynold is the car parked, the doors open, drinking and eating, boom, trash on the ground. When I call the Glendale Police Department to report it, they're off. Not the police department, but the people who have committed this. That's what you're going to get. That neighborhood is dark, it's quiet. Now we're going to have people just get your alcohol, go over here. And so we don't need it. The one problem we're having in Glendale right now is the fact that everything is getting built. Just more buildings, more businesses, less neighbors, less neighborhood. Okay, we want to bring it back. I've been here for 17 years. It has changed 100%. I don't want it to change anymore. And in terms of crime, one of the things that was just out in the Glendale press is that crime, to a certain degree, has dropped, but violent crime such as rape has gone up quite a bit. Am I right? Huge. Okay? I don't need it. I have a daughter. I also have living in Glendale, the speeding is insane. Okay? We don't have enough police enforcement, and you have to admit to the insanity of our drivers. Now I'm going to mix more alcohol. The restaurants that are in Kenneth, they close at 10. Okay? Mission Liquors, a few blocks away. Ralph's, a few blocks away. If you want liquor, you can go there. We don't need to add liquor to every corner in Glendale. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian?
My name is Adrian Gregorian. I live at 1524 Grandview Avenue. I am 4 doors north of this alcohol gas station. I'm very upset. Again, as she stated and previous to that, we don't need it in our neighborhood. And you're saying it's going to no loitering. They can't, on premises, they can't drink. They're just going to go up the street a little bit and drink. And then they're going to discard their bottles on my front lawn. I mean, we do get food like that when people do that. But unfortunately, now it's going to be bottles, more crime. And I really find fault with this statement about this request is not anticipated to create any negative traffic-related impacts on West Kenneth Road and Grandview Avenue. I'm sorry, but it's already happened. We have so much traffic at that corner. Obviously, I'm not against a thriving business. They're doing very well. They're cheap, and therefore everybody seems to be congregating for their gas consumption there. And as a result, we have fuel trucks almost every other day. I mean, I walk a lot in the neighborhood, so I'm constantly seeing the fuel truck. And then they have to maneuver to get in, causing congestion on both sides. As are the people who are trying to get their gas. They create a great deal of confusion because there's just too many people trying to pump at the same time, and they're waiting their turn. And the overflow goes and stops traffic on both sides. So, I mean, it's already negatively impacted us. Now you want to impact us even further. I'm not happy, and not at all. The hours, and I thought it was till 10. Now I'm hearing midnight, and I didn't know there's hard liquor involved. I'm just finding that out today. It'd be nice if we get clued in. This is our neighborhood, and this is just too close, way too close, 4 doors away. I don't want to have more problems. I've been living in that house since 1972. And again, like she said, we've seen many negative changes. Enough already. We've had too much. Let's keep our neighborhood the way it is, quiet, friendly, social, and none of this negative. We are going to be impacted negative even further than the traffic that we've already incurred. Thank you.
Just a quick question, Adrian, if I may ask a question.
Sure.
It was a gas station before turning into just a different kind of gas station. I mean, has the traffic changed? From one gas
Tremendously,
station to the
only
other?
because the prices are so reasonable. We never had, the prices were always higher than the norm, so we never had this congestion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's always been a gas station there,
Right.
but they've always been high. I haven't pumped gas there because they were far more than the other surrounding area. But now, because it's literally the cheapest, I can't find it cheaper within 2-3 miles circumference. Well, not north, there's nothing north of us, but south of us, there's no gas station that sells that cheaply. So it's become chaotic, to be honest with you. And those fuel pumps are having a hard time, and they're there constantly trying to refill those tanks. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There was no mini mart there either, and it was Tony's. Yeah.
Sorry. No.
Sorry.
No public comment. Next is Joe Goodwin, please. Godwin. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joe Godwin, and I live at 1031 West Kenneth Road. I live in the fourplex, 3.5-plex, that is immediately adjacent to the east side of the property. And I apologize, I was talking to the officer just prior, but one of the comments that you made about the fact that it was a gas station before, the traffic, I've lived there just shy of 12 years. My unit is in almost the rearmost portion, so I get a little bit of it if it's noisy. I'm not here to concern myself about liquor sales, but I agree with so far all of the negative comments. We just don't need it. Simple as that. We just don't need it in the neighborhood. And the reason that we're quiet and sleepy, you could literally hear a pin drop as a rule of thumb after 9 o'clock at night. We just don't need any attractions, whether it be lights or anything else. The only benefit that I've seen of the new ownership at this location is that they have painted and they have spruced it up, and that we have real flowers that don't have weeds in between them. And I try not to be facetious because the gentleman has a right to have a business there, but even his own attorney has indicated that the liquor sales are ancillary and or incidental, and I don't know how much longer he can sustain the lower than average gas price in that neighborhood. In the past, the only reason we would have a low price continuing beyond those on Kenneth Road and other more populated areas was because they barely sold that much, and so we would retain the lower price for a longer period of time. And then, every couple of weeks or so when the gas tank came, the fuel people came, then we would see the effect of the change. That's the difference. It was primarily a place that made a living by doing mechanical. theirs was incidental as far as any food and or gasoline sales was concerned. I don't have specific statistics, but I can tell you as an observer and watching one of the gentlemen who would sweep in the evening because there was no one there. He kept the corner very clean as I would walk by every evening. We simply don't need it, and I believe we will attract problems with the lights on 24 hours a day. I can tell you as a person who sleeps next to it that I have not heard any noise. I can give them that, but it's only because people haven't figured out what's going on there. But I do still hear the cars screaming up the street to Brand Park, and when I fear that the kids in their BMWs and Mercedes figure out that there's liquor there they can grab and go drink up at the park or various places around, it'll be a problem. So I think, like everyone else has said, we're inviting a problem we don't have, don't want, don't need. I would ask you to deny the request. Thank you.
Jerome Sander?
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jerome Sander. I live at 909 Matilaha Road. Have lived there since 1998, and I'm on the board of the Northwest Glendale Homeowners Association. I'd like to just talk a little bit about Tony's Automotive. It used to be there. It was a mechanic shop. I used it. We all used it. It didn't have a store per se. It was an office with a couple candy bar racks, and you could buy oil and maybe a soda. So I'm sorry that when the business was sold that there wasn't some attempt to get in touch with the neighborhood and let them know about the plans to make this into a mini-mart that was going to operate 24 hours a day, because that is not the kind of business that is appropriate for Kenneth Village. It's appropriate on Glen Oaks and San Fernando Road, but a gas station on the corner with the lights blazing 24 hours a day is inappropriate for a neighborhood like Kenneth Village, where the businesses all close at 10. Now, as far as alcoholic beverages is concerned, there's Chris and Tom's closed last year. I think they were open until 10 o'clock in the evening. There's Mi Corazon, which is a restaurant, and then there's La Cucina, Tony's Cucina Pizzeria. They both have liquor licenses or wine and beer licenses. They stop service at 10. All the businesses in Kenneth Village close at 10, except I think the Yoga Center has a class that goes till 11 occasionally. So that's Kenneth Village. It's quiet. Now, I've met Vladimir, the owner of the gas station. I stopped by the day before they reopened after remodeling. He was very nice. He was actually invited me in to show me the store. I thought he'd done a very nice job. He was clearly very proud of the business that he had. I have no objection to that. And I know we're here to address the liquor license and the hours of operation, but I would like to encourage him to consider all of these comments, please, and consider if you're going to run a 24-hour business to dim the lights at 10 o'clock or midnight, 50% at least, because it looks like a beacon out there on the corner. That's one of the things that I notice. I'm very disappointed in the police department changing their recommendation. I think if you're going to sell alcohol, 10 p.m. is the perfect time to stop. I see no reason to extend it till midnight. None of the other businesses in the neighborhood have that. There's a 7-Eleven on the corner of Glen Oaks and Highland that sells beer and wine, I assume. I know beer. They're open 24 hours. There's another 7-Eleven further down Glen Oaks that does the same. We don't really need that kind of alcohol sale. I thought that the market was going to lock its doors at midnight and stop sales based on my conversation with Vladimir, but I probably misunderstood him, because what's happening now is they lock the doors at midnight, but all you have to do is knock, and if the guy that or whoever's working there finds you non-threatening, they'll let you in. So business is 24 hours a day. Gas sales stop are all night too. Oh, here's another thing. Tony's, they sold gas 24 hours, but they turned the lights down at 10. The office closed at 10. I talked to the head mechanic after they had sold, and he told me that the Glendale Police Department actually used to come by if he was in the office after 10 and tell him to turn the lights off. I don't know that the city can enforce closing hours, but there was this sort of understanding that that business was going to shut down at 10 o'clock. The gas pump stayed open, but there was nobody on site. It was by credit card only. So the current owner feels like he has to have a clerk on hand 24 hours a day. That's his business. I wish that weren't the case. I wish they could just have gas sales 24 hours and close the store at midnight. But I understand that you can't influence that. However, if you're going to issue a liquor license, keep it at 10 p.m. That's my request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Fuad, followed by Carol.
My name is Peter Fuad. I live at 1635 Art Even Avenue in Glendale. I'm also president of the Northwest Glendale Homeowners Association. When this project first came online, we've had a lot of discussion among our board members and among members of the association about this project. First of all, I'd like to compliment the applicant on his site. They've done a lot of work redoing the tanks. It's very clean, very tidy, and it's a very nice facility, so I do compliment him on that. As one of the prior speakers said, it is significant that the police came in today and, oh, by the way, let's change the hours. We're okay as an association. We're okay with selling, first of all, we're okay with selling liquor in general. That's not a problem with the association. But we do want the liquor to stop at 10 p.m. All the other businesses in Kenneth Village has been said, close at 10, and if there are liquor sales after then, there's plenty of, whereas they can't literally maybe drink beer or wine on site. Kenneth Village has several benches. There's a parking lot in back. There's a parking lot across the street. There's plenty of places nearby, within walking distance, that people can loiter. So we would want it to stay at 10 p.m. And similar to that thing is we would like to prohibit individual sales. I'm not sure how the 12-ounce can thing works into that, but conceptually, we don't want individual sales because there are plenty of places for people to loiter in the vicinity. Another item we wanted to mention is we would like the lights dimmed after, say, 10 p.m. It is a beacon. It's bright, and it sort of tampers with the charm and the sort of the cohesiveness of the area. So we would like some ability to dim the lights. Finally, as some of the speakers have mentioned, traffic has become much worse. I've seen people cutting across the gas station to make a right turn from Kenneth on northbound on Grandview. I would consider the city should consider some no left-hand turn signal signs, maybe from the driveways and maybe into the driveways, because Kenneth Road doesn't really have an ability to turn left without blocking the traffic behind it through the signal. Maybe the parking stalls in front of the gas station need to be eliminated to get a better line of sight for people going in and out. So the traffic is significant, and it has been impacted by the store.
You're referring to the on-street parking?
Pardon?
That last comment? You're referring to the on-street parking?
Yeah, there's one or two spaces right in front on Kenneth. Maybe those are eliminated so you get a better line of sight, and maybe it'll help people making a left turn at Grandview. So you could go around and to the right, because as around between 5 and 6:30, Kenneth is significant, and that's a severely congested intersection, and it's not helped by the parking lot further down in Kenneth Village. I think that's it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Just maybe anecdotally, when the liquor store was open, was there a problem with loitering? To your knowledge?
No. When I went to the liquor store, no one else ever seemed to be in it. I'm not sure how successful it was.
Okay.
But no, I did not see loitering.
Just loitering in general, and other than people enjoying the village and.
I did not.
Okay.
No.
But they closed at 10, so and that's what we're asking for too. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Carol, followed by Greg Korean.
Carol Bruchet, 1400 Cleveland Road, 91202, and that is on the corner of Olmsted and Cleveland. First of all, I disagree with the statements that were made this morning. One, that this is not a destination area. Well, it possibly will become one. Just because it is 84% a lower crime rate than the city does not mean it will stay that way. I have had incidents, because I live on the corner, as I said, of Olmsted and Cleveland. One time, about 2 years ago, police descended onto my lawn where they had several people handcuffed, sitting down on the lawn, young people. I don't know what was happening, but something was happening. And young people will be the main customers. And that's the problem. The young people, I mean, they'll be 21 or over, but we have a slew of young people in the neighborhood. They will be the ones who will be getting the liquor. I know we can't stop the liquor, the permit to be issued, but suddenly, midnight? And what happens if they decide, well, maybe 2 a.m. like everybody else? There is a liquor store down at the corner of Glen Oaks and Highland, Mission Liquors. There are all these grocery stores around. There are a lot of liquor stores on Glen Oaks. And so it bothers me that they have come in. Suddenly they want to go over what has been put into the recommendations. And I just don't feel that that this is right to the community. I go out a lot and pick up trash on Olmsted, not on on Cleveland, but on Olmsted. And we know that these are what has been said are hypothetical statements. Everything will be okay. It won't be. So if you have to allow the license, it shouldn't be over 10 o'clock. It should comply with everyone in the neighborhood. And yes, the lights should be dimmed so it prevents people from thinking that the station is a destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Last card I have is Greg Krikorian.
I stepped out to grab a phone call.
It's okay.
Actually, I was glad I was able to hear everyone. First of all, thank you for this time. I want to preface myself. I live on Raymond Street and Kenneth Road. I live on Raymond on Kenneth Road right there. Also, I'm a former board member on the Northwest Homeowners Association. Also, I'm past president of Jewel City Little League, which plays at Brand Park, and on the Board of Education. So I looked at some of the findings, and I'm encouraged that we're having some good businesses strengthen that area. So I'm in favor of the process. But hearing some of Jerome's and Peter's and Carol's comments, some of them do make sense. So there could be some fair mitigation here. We look at when I first moved here from Connecticut in 1990. So I lived in the neighborhood for 27 years. From Susan Stanton, Tony Bell, a lot of those family members were all Kenneth Village is our home. But when I look at it, and when I grew up in Connecticut, and if Fleming was going through some of these things, it was Fleming's Shell station, would he be going through the same type of scrutiny and same type of comments? And that's when I look at it as a helicopter view of our community. The comments that Jerome and Peter brought up and Carol were very fair, well thought out. And I think maybe there's some type of compromise. That I'm not the one in the planning commission, but one thing I do know, it's our neighborhood uses that gas station. We use it all the time. My whole neighborhood uses it, and they use it in many ways. And I'm happy he invested in our neighborhood there at Kenneth Village. I mean, Tony closed down. I know Tony very well with the Burbank Road Kings. I worked with the Kiwanis Club. It's a great thing. To be honest, I used to go to Chris and Tom's. No one else was loitering. I mean, Peter was right. There wasn't a lot of business going on there. But honestly, if I'm going to get gas and I'm buying a bottle of wine for dinner for my wife and me and my family, God bless, thank him. I thank him for that opportunity. We talk about schools of proximity. Hoover High, Keppel, and Toll are already 400 yards away from liquor being sold already, 300 yards. This does not impact any of the schools. It does not impact the community. But the comments that they brought up, to be fair and reasonable, were some fair points they brought up. The lighting, there could be some compromise. I know in Connecticut, we didn't have liquor sales on Sundays, so they pulled curtains over the liquor section in New England. That's how they did in Massachusetts. So in Connecticut, I don't mind. Obviously, there has to be some type of compromise. And what Jerome and Peter brought up were very fair and reasonable compromises in some of these respects. We're saying 10 or 11, pick a normal time. If we see some mitigation and the probation period's clear and there's been great things going on, then maybe reconsider midnight. But what they're bringing up, I think, is very fair and reasonable. And the traffic does impact because they do have great prices, but they do, maybe there's some times of hours of operation that he could do. I don't know. I'm hopeful that he'd be amenable to some type of compromises, and I'm sure he has, but I'm glad I ended up being last because I heard a lot of their comments, and a lot of their comments did make sense from what Pam, each one brought up. So there is some sensible decisions here. But at the end of the day I think it's great to have that opportunity there and to support him and to have those opportunities. I know a couple of people did go over and I got kind of things, but at the end of the day, it's a good thing for our community as long as it's controlled and mitigated in the right way. So thank you.
Thank you. And I hate to say that you weren't the last speaker card. We had one slip in. Ellen?
Hi. My name is Ellen Asatri, and I live at 1305 North Columbus Avenue. My parents actually live a block up from the gas station. My sister is on Western and Bel Air, and my aunt is on Justin and Kenneth. So aside from me being here, please imagine that they're also present, but they're at work, so they weren't able to come and speak in support. I wanted to first and foremost thank the applicant for investing in our city, for beautifying that area. The mechanic shop actually used to look like an eyesore, so I'm really, really pleased at how it looks like now. And for bringing really affordable gas to our community. I do think that it's a matter of convenience. There were no issues in that area with the liquor store being present there for many, many years. And I don't foresee, and I'm confident that will continue because we actually do have a very safe neighborhood that we live in. And I think that anything that was permitted to the liquor store should actually be allowed with the gas station, and we should be promoting businesses that come to Glendale. And the parking situation and the lack of parking available for within the gas station will not allow for loitering to take place. I've never seen it. I've actually used the liquor store a lot myself, and the fact that the gas station is actually situated where it is now allows for really the neighborhood to use that to walk down and to grab whatever they need to from that market and then go back to their homes. So Glen Oaks is much further down, and that especially comes from my sister and my aunt and my mom, who are literally right around the area. They actually walk over. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that is the last speaker card I have. We've already used your time. I'll allow it this one time, please.
Since they now want to change the hours from 10 to 12, don't you think we need to have new notification sent out to the community?
I think that the staff report outlined recommended conditions of approval. The applicant has made it clear that they would like something different. PD has made a different change their recommendations. I don't think it warrants a new hearing. I don't know how I'm going to decide on this, and you will be all notified of what the conditions may or may not be. Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over if the applicant would like to respond to anything that was heard from the speakers briefly, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Ms. Esp. On the last point, by the way, the application was for a 2 a.m. closing, so that was the original application. So whatever notice went out would not have misled the community that it's a 10 p.m. closing. Yes, very quickly, let me go through. We've heard testimony. First item, with respect to the two driveways where someone said the circulation issue was a problem, it may not be related to the alcohol permit in front of you, but I do want to respond, and that is that there's a parking spot between the two driveways, which is what causes perhaps the visibility issue. Our client has applied for a red zone there to the city and is willing to ask the city to make that a red zone, so visibility would be clear.
This is the on-street parking space? Okay.
Yeah. There's testimony, so they're in categories. First, we hear that there's increased high density of alcohol sales by creating this, but the evidence is before you that we're just replacing a liquor license. We're replacing a liquor store that was there for many years, that operated without problems, and that license was moved here. Ironically, that liquor store would have sold much, much more alcohol than my client will in a mini-mart for that same license. There's actually going to be a reduction in amount of liquor overall sold under that liquor license. The studies that were cited, people talked about prevention. People had some very intelligent comment about, studies. The woman early on, I'm sorry I missed her name, talked about high density of alcohol sales relate to high incidences of issues and problems. But when I listened when she pointed to the study she was talking about, on-site type of licenses, and the gentleman who spoke about other restaurants in the area and other facilities in the area, those are all on-site, and they're a different animal. People can walk out drunk. People can, create an issue when they walk out under those circumstances. None of which is really applicable, I think, to what we're asking for. One person raised the issue with the census tract as being misleading as a way of measuring it because there's only one business in this census tract, and we're it, and therefore we have the one alcohol permit. But the census tract is how the Alcohol Beverage Control Department measures the concept of overconcentration. They use that as their metric system. If somebody wanted to change that metric system and go to a larger geographical area, that's fine. You'll have more businesses, but the threshold for what is an overconcentration will increase as well. So whether you use census data as currently applied by every city in the state and the ABC, or whether you create a different metric, it's not going to change the result. And the result is about the concentration. And clearly in this case, there is no overconcentration in this census tract. So I think that the fact that there, with many, many, many testimonies of people who've lived there many years, I thought I might hear a lot of history about loitering and people in their neighborhood when that liquor store was operating, even if it closed at 10 p.m. But the testimony was not there for that. And to the credit of the president of the homeowners who testified, who answered, I think, truthfully and honestly when you asked him, he said no, there were no loiterers while that liquor store was in operation. There was no issue there. You're more likely to get loiterers from somebody walking into the liquor store and walking out than you are from somebody filling gas and moving on. There was concern about increased traffic. A lot of testimony about increased traffic. But that increased traffic is not due to alcohol sales because we haven't had any alcohol sales. So the increased traffic could be due to any number of things, having nothing to do with our site. Could be due to the fact that the site was renovated with a mini-mart that does bring some more traffic. Could have something to do with the very reasonable gas prices I heard today from the community. I don't know that which factor causes the traffic, but the fact that the traffic is there, it's pass-through traffic. It's, again, now, the gas station may be a destination because people said they liked the idea of buying cheap gas. So, yeah, it's possible people will drive to this location to buy reasonable gas. That would be an ironic kind of opposition because what I'm hearing a community saying is we don't want inexpensive gas. We'd rather have a very expensive gas station corner to detract people from coming and chase them away. That's not the way the business works. So I do want to point out that it's the mini-market operations that can subsidize the lower gas costs. That's why the gas station here can compete at the lower prices. Is the mini-mart operation does subsidize that, if you will, and overall business. The woman who lived next door, Miss Godwin, I think it was, said she hasn't heard noise, but she does hear noise from cars of kids going to the park. Again, that just makes to our point, which is it's not our business that would do this. And the canopy lights. Several comments about the lights. Now, these lights are only the canopy lights. They're directed on site. We have no canopy lights or light that spills over. We have no spillage outside of our property. It's on site. It is important for security reasons as well. Same reason that the door is locked at midnight, so somebody can just rush in and commit a crime, some sort of a robbery. The same thing with the lights at night. It's to detract. If you had a darker place at night, it would invite potentially someone running in on a car and committing a robbery and running away. What?
Final thoughts?
Oh, yeah. So I do want to point out that on the lighting, again, it's not an alcohol issue, but I do want to respond. My final thought is this. The testimony we've heard today about all the impacts potentially of alcohol was really based on conjecture and speculation and fears of what it might create, not on actual testimony of real evidence as to this has happened. The only evidence we heard today from alcohol is the liquor store, which really seems not to have been a problem. And so I would urge you to allow the modification we're asking for, and we'll stand on that.
Okay, so I just want to kind of maybe summarize and clarify what your application was. You mentioned was originally to serve till 2 a.m.,
right,
which is consistent with
state
law, ABC rules. The original comments from the police department that were incorporated into staff's recommendation was 10 p.m. You'd like to with your new letter that was 2 days ago on
Yes.
March 6th, you're suggesting midnight?
Yes.
Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, as a compromise.
I understand that PD has come today to sort of support that, but that is just what you're requesting. Staff's recommendation is still 10 p.m., and that is what is, will ultimately.
Well, I don't know. I
decided.
haven't heard staff's response subsequent to the police department changing its mind. So I don't know if staff's still at that position, but that is our request.
Okay, so it's the conditions that we talked about, which were hours of operation, and I don't recall the number, and you would like to change for individual sales.
On the individual unit sales, I wanted to limit it to individual beer cans under 12 ounces. That's your individual beer that people.
So that is
open.
your request for
we're offering that
to consider.
Yes, as a
to consider that
correct.
In this process.
Right.
Okay. And just how long have you guys been open?
You mean the mini mart?
The gas station and mini mart altogether.
No. When
how long?
Start? When did you first
When did
open
you?
it? When? When?
It was January 1st.
Of what year?
2017.
So you remodel. Okay, so he finished remodeling at the beginning of the year.
The beginning of the year, and you've been open since January 1st.
And on a 24-hour basis.
Okay. Okay. I think that's
Thank you.
it for my questions. We're not going to go back and forth with testimony. The two of you can maybe talk after the hearing if you'd like. I heard your testimony. Thank you. So thank you all for coming. This hearing, this case is taken under consideration. This hearing is now closed.